the mic was off. So good afternoon and welcome everyone, particularly my distinguished guests who are going to involve in a very exciting panel discussion on choices, characters and credibility that define leaders. Very interesting topic I seem to me, in the sense that will bring in lot of inputs and insights for our potential future leaders. And students, believe in yourself, in the sense, at least I firmly believe most of you in one or other aspect, in one or other sphere of life are going to become leaders, and that will reflect very well on I am a So the four panelists are Mr. Anitesh Singh, Mr. Samir Malotra, Miss Mea and Miss Sumita, and they will take you through their experiences and wonderful learnings. I also welcome my distinguished faculty members, and of course, dear students, you are the hosts, but still I welcome you. So, I hope this will be a very interesting panel discussion, and in the morning also you have Vyakriti, where I understand you have a lot of gains and insights. You are young minds, impressionable minds. People like me are slightly more rigid, although I try to be as flexible as possible. But then experience sometimes could be valuable, sometimes it could be a deterrent. In the sense, if you achieve success on some pathway, you believe that that is the pathway for success. But those are all contextual things. For a period of time, your context, your business environment, your society, the technologies that are available, they keep on changing. So what is good or great for becoming a leader may still remain good but may not be as relevant, and some other characteristics, some other skills may become more important in your course of time. That's an ever learning, ever growing pathway when one ultimately becomes a leader. So let me talk a little bit about evolution of leadership. Most of you may be aware about it. So right from time immemorial it started. But when you talk from corporate perspective, I'll be focusing mainly on corporate, although leaders in general parlance is all about political leaders, societal leaders, corporate comes probably third, and then individual leaders, leaders in sports and other areas. So corporate perspective, some of the names are just eavesdropping in a way. Henry Ford, you must have heard of. He was one of those leaders. Jack Welch, some of you may have heard of Six Sigma and G and all those. So again, it was something which came, someone who came about a century later, and then contemporary leaders you have someone like, say, take an Indian example, Satya Nadella, for example. So these leaders have something to teach us. Some points we can learn from them and emulate. So if you relate it, force leadership was related to those times where the focus was on industrial area efficiency. Industrial era efficiency was the context, and there we worked that way. Jack Welch was more of a transformative one, and we had progress as a society, and we are moving towards post-industrial society, and now we are moving towards modern era where the focus is more on agility. So leaders like Satya Nadella and so on. So this is relevant everywhere, the context of leadership, and we do need leaders. We also need followers. Many times good followers become good leaders subsequently because they learn from their leaders. Just like you learn from your mentors, and maybe over a period of time you may overcome them in terms of your contribution, in terms of your skills, in terms of your knowledge or whatever. So it's an ever learning process. All of us internally, it's a human instinct, inspire or aspire to be leaders. Many of us succeed, but none of us fails. In one or the other aspect, we are leaders. Look around yourself. In one or the other aspect, everyone is a leader, and all of us are followers as well. On many aspects, we could be leaders, but from other aspects, we follow some others who are still role models for us. So, leadership requires a lot of, in corporate context, structures, aspirations, values, systems, cultural norms. Take for instance, I am Amritsar itself, because you can relate better to it. So again, we need we need governance structures, we need to develop a vibrant ecosystem, a type of culture which will make I am Amritsar unique. We are in the process, and related to it comes the topic of choices, character and credibility, the theme of the conference. So all the stakeholders are making certain choices. They take example of I am Amritsar, be it the director, be it the top management, be it the faculty, be it other stakeholders, be it the student. Some of these stakeholders like student made a decisive choice to join Amritsar and shape it. So all these choices are often based on your own strengths, preferences, and so on. And these choices over a period of time, many of them take you to a certain pathway. So through that pathway, a particular image or character of that organization or institute gets shaped up. That's a type of shaping up which comes up. And then gradually over a period of time, if you are moving in the right direction, if you have something unique to offer, you are differentiated from others, you are trustworthy, reliable, then credibility comes. In businesses, it's very, very important. In a loose term, sometimes from business perspective, credibility could be related to brand image or whatever. From leadership perspective, again, the behaviors, the patterns of behavior the leadership shows over a period of time bring in credibility. So you could have examples of corporate leaders like Ratan Tata, or the Tata Group per se itself has credibility, but he further strengthened it to his choices he made, the internationalization Tata went into, the type of personal behavior he exhibited, the type of ethical and moral behavior he demonstrated. A lot of these things brought a lot of credibility to the Tata Group, and consequently, not only reputation but a lot of customers and consequently profits as well. So every choice actually shapes identity, as someone in the opening statement said when they were introducing the theme. And then repeated choices actually build character, and over a period of time this character brings in credibility. And if a leader loses or an organization loses credibility, then it's not sustainable. So to sustain credibility, your consistent behavior and related good choices which are in alignment with each other, sync with each other, they need to be taken. Again, at political leadership level, maybe you can look into some examples like Dr. Nelson Mandela or Abraham Lincoln, if you are looking abroad. So I would not like to stress much, but I was given a lot of time, so I am going a bit slow. Although we started late, so I can have a liberty to cut it a bit short. So, what is the learning for you, for students particularly, because you are the major stakeholders of this conclave? So, college days, your leadership traits begin right from the beginning, but college is one which shapes a lot of them, and especially at the postgraduate level or undergraduate level, where you are moving from adolescents to adults. So your mind has developed, body has developed, thinking capabilities and power has developed. So this is where shaping is very, very important. You learn by your own, the way you chose first of all, I am Amritsar, the way that you started making a lot of your choices independently. I am Amritsar also sometimes forced you to do, sometimes planned. We don't tell you a lot of things, keep it in uncertainty, ambiguous. Because you are at a stage, you learn those human skills, those type of leadership skills. And then of course, when you make decisions about your electives, about your joining certain committees, or during a group assignment, some natural leader emerges and so on. You learn working in teams. During placement also, again, you make certain choices. What are the opportunities, what are the long term, how does it gel with my own plan, or suppose you are getting into entrepreneurship, then again you get into those type of decision making. So these choices actually influence your shape your career and life for decades to go. So this is very important conclave from that perspective, that to give more better insights from the enlightened panel, what have been their experiences, what could be good for certain people, what may not be as good for certain people, and accordingly make choices, and finally, hopefully many of you will emerge leaders in one way or the other. So holding a job title or a particular, what should I say, position may not necessarily be related to leadership, although commonly we relate it to that, that say I am the director, so I am the leader, but I may be a natural leader, or it just could be by authority only, but otherwise I may be lacking a lot of leadership skills, and the institute may suffer in the bargain. So there are different types of leaders. In HR electives, particularly in your core courses, you must have learned about them. Autocratic, laissez-faire, transformative, democratic, servant leaders, then people talk of level 1 to level 5, just like Maslow's hierarchy. Level 5 of course is ideal, but not everyone starts from level 5. Many of us are unable to graduate to level 5. Some people go directly to almost 1 or 2 levels and then to level 5. Maybe just ponder over it after the conclave. Some of the things you may be hearing for the first time. Having worked in industry early on and also in HR operations interface, strategy also to a little extent, I have seen it actually working in corporates. Then there are of course a lot of theories you can relate to, your individual characteristics, traits, behavior, contingency and those type of theories. So accordingly there could be leaders. Credibility is very, very important. You need to prove yourself, then only the others will accept you as leader. You need to be benchmarked in some activity, some output, some performance, then only people will look up to you. The corporate examples like Warren Buffett or Tim Cook, for that matter, I hope most of you can relate to these names, otherwise your friend Google and other search engines, ChatGPT and others will help you. But this is an area at your young age you need to be very aware of, because sooner or later, and all of us, as I said earlier on, aspire to be leaders. That's a human trait. So let me finish now. To develop as leaders, you need to focus, as of now, given your stage, focus on self-mastery. Because that will give you competence and confidence. You will take a better informed decision. Upgrade your skills, keep on looking outward, create opportunities, and all of this must have ethical background, because that will bring you a lot of credibility. Shortcuts may not help you emerge as a leader. For a small period of time, you may seem successful and you may seem to have followers, you may be setting certain benchmarks, but in the long term, it's credibility and consistency. And at the background, ethical behavior that actually serves you to become a leader. You should be very transparent and open. In this digital era, in any case, people are exposed, and so overall, you cannot deceive all the people all the time. So don't get into deceitful behavior, get into ethical behavior. And my advice would be, look around. Means, of course, everyone needs to be unique and emerge as a unique leader. But then there could be role models. So look around, get into business and things, read biographies, read autobiographies of leaders, the types whom you wish to not necessarily emulate, but who could be your guiding forces, and it will help you in the long run. So that's all I would like to say. I hope this conclave will have a lot of meaningful discussions in the panel, and that will give you my. I'm just setting the agenda and making you think. So that's all from my side. I hope that all of you will become leaders in your own ways in different spheres of activity over a period of time. One day after. Switching off the microphone. Next speaker, take care.
For sharing your valuable insights in front of the audience. It is my huge honor to unveil the theme of this year's summit, choices, character and credibility that define leaders. In an era marked by rapid transformation, heightened accountability, and constant public scrutiny, leadership is no longer assessed solely by results or scale of impact. It is increasingly defined by the decisions leaders make, the consistency they demonstrate, and the trust they cultivate across stakeholders. As organizations navigate uncertainty, digital acceleration, and evolving societal expectations, the focus has shifted from authority to authenticity. This theme invites us to reflect on how leadership identity is shaped in decisive moments. When values are tested against targets, when short-term gains compete with long-term trust, and when accountability demands courage. It challenges us to examine how disciplined choices and unwavering character ultimately determine the credibility that sustains influence over time. A true leader is not the loudest voice in the room, but one that gives others the confidence to find their own. With that being said, allow me to introduce the first keynote speaker for the day, Mr. Samir Malotra. Mr. Samir Malotra. Mr. Samir Malotra is a senior global executive with over 30 years of transformational leadership experience across Asia and Americas. He has led large-scale enterprise transformation initiatives, regional strategy, and global operations within highly regulated financial services and customer-centric organizations. Mr. Samir is known for building resilient, well-governed, and artificial intelligence-enabled operational ecosystems that drive service excellence and sustainable growth. Over the past 18 years, he has led leadership roles in global banking institutions, including Barclays, JP Morgan Chase and Company, and Deutsche Bank. His experience also spans the travel industry, with Chase Travel and operationalizing end-to-end operations models and comprehensive operations management frameworks. He is widely recognized for establishing high-impact global centers for excellence, leading complex regulatory remediation programs, and embedding AI/ML, robotics, Lean Six Sigma, and design thinking into large operational environments. His leadership philosophy integrates governance, innovation, and execution excellence into building future-ready organizations in an increasingly dynamic global landscape. With that being said, let me take this opportunity to heartily invite Mr. Samir Malotra on stage. We would like to request our director, sir, to come on stage and felicitate Mr. Malotra. Thank you, sir. We now cordially invite Mr. Samir Malotra to deliver the keynote address.
Good afternoon, I am officer. Good afternoon. Did you all get good hearty lunch? Yes, sir. That makes me nervous. Okay, so what I'm going to talk today, that's a standard disclaimer. As you can imagine, working for a large organization, it's purely my own viewpoints, nowhere reflects my organization's or past organization viewpoints. But the reason why I said nervous is because, I have the tough job of waking you up, but more importantly, waking myself up, right? So after that, hearty lunch. So let's do a little bit of exercise, right? A simple thing. You can do it while you're sitting here. So I want to get all your attention as you kind of go along. Can everybody raise their hand? Okay, and you have these two fingers, thumb and the finger, index finger. Just put it all together. Make it like a circle. Yeah? Everybody made a circle? Okay, now very slowly. You have to do this very carefully and slowly. Bring it to your chin. Right? Now figure out, is that your chin? That is not on the agenda and it's not in the slide. But in the interesting kind of segment that we have today, and when Director Sir was speaking, I was wondering, given his experience, I mean, he said it all frankly. He stole our thunder. So, what I would like to do is, I like to give you few real life examples and open up for questions, because I think when we engage and interact, it becomes a lot more meaningful. Otherwise, it's a one-way street and a monologue, right? So we talk about, let's talk about the choices first. And I purposely put out there the dilemma in a good way, not in a negative with a negative connotation, but that's something which it's not just relevant for corporate world. You do choices, you have choices, and you make choices every day, right? So it's nothing unique that only people in senior positions or in corporate life do. You do that as well. However, reflecting on one of the examples, I was thinking, okay, which example would I like to talk about? And there are umpteen experiences that over the span of career that at least I've gone through. But this one is, this was about close to about 10 years back. And we were setting up with one of my early organizations, the Center of Excellence. And as you can imagine, we had to scale up that organization from roughly about 20 to 700 in a span of 18 months. I mean, that's a big kind of jump. And we're trying to look for quite specialized or I would say seasoned skill set. So when I came on board, I realized that our focus was on picking up talent from the market, from just one or two organizations. Now it was a very kind of an easy path, because we were able to get a lot of talent very, very quickly, very, very relevant talent. But the consideration for me was, look, I was probably creating those many organizations in my organization, and what would that do to the culture of our organization? Or the thread of our, the cultural thread would definitely become quite challenging and compromised. So I had to take a very hard decision saying that, look, we will not do that. I mean, it's an easy path. It gets us to the target that we have very quickly, and we are able to scale up, and it's a global proposition. The global organization is looking at you in terms of scaling it up. But I have to explain that this we can't do, because I'm just kicking the can down the road. In 1 year time, I'll have a bigger problem to solve. So we actually diversified from just about 2-3 organizations to 15 different organizations from where we could procure or source talent, as well as looking in as we went along to get some fresh talent to create the widen the pool itself. So it was a tough decision, not an easy one, because as Director Sir said, you will always get these shortcuts which will seem very attractive, but they will come back and bite you very quickly. And that's something that is a vision that you need to have as you kind of step into the corporate space. He touched upon the character aspect as well, and I think he touched upon a very important aspect of designation versus leadership. I firmly believe in that. Frankly, in this room, all of you are leaders. You all have had some kind of situation where you have taken a situational leadership, haven't you? Yes. Right? This whole event is organized. This is leadership. So don't think that you'll walk out of the institute one day and suddenly there'll be some halo light which will come and give you a blessing of leadership. You already have it. You'll just sharpen it make it finer and more experiential, right? So, and this is something which very common in corporate life that we do is to actually engage all our team members, even at the entry level or entry point, in terms of really inculcating that sense that there will always be opportunities about leadership, and it's not about titles. So that's something which at least I hope I propagate a lot, and I expect at least my teams to kind of adhere to that kind of or exhibit that kind of behavior. And it's been a tough one again because it's very common. It did happen to me as well when I was in the early stages and became a manager. When you become a manager, when you have to manage people, it goes in here. And that kind of inflates your ego. Just be sensitive and conscious to that, because that will again be a short-term phenomenon which will probably set you back for a long time. And it happened with me, and I had to take a course correction. This was way back in 2001, so about 25 years back. But that course correction had to come into place. So I'm sharing from my own personal experience in terms of what will matter in terms of the character aspect that will play, and how will that be seen by others. A quick moment to spend on this whole aspect about designation versus leadership. Designations give you an authority in an organization. They give you a relevance, a role in the organization, right? But will people really see you as a leader is actually dependent on the next one, which is about credibility. So if you're able to build trust, and again, I take a real life example. This was again about close to about 9 years back, and it's a slightly different example in the sense while it's from a corporate space, but it's not like a day-to-day work. In our corporates, we focus a lot on employee engagement, employee initiatives, right? So we'll celebrate all the festivals, we do a lot of the employee appreciation days, we do several events. I'm sure you do it in the institutes as well, because I've done it when I was in the institutes, but we do that in corporate space as well. So this was a question, but they're shy to ask. Don't be that shy person. Personally gone through that. You happens all the time. I think one thing which to keep in mind when we're talking about at least the organizations that I work with have had very high regard to the values that they define. So we should have faith and trust in the system that whatever has been defined as values for the organization has gone with a lot of thinking, a lot of experience, and have some strong trust and solid trust in that. But however, there will be situations wherein your personal beliefs do not necessarily agree with what you are being expected to do or told to do, right? So the first example was like that, because in 18 months we had to ramp up to like 700, but it didn't make sense. And the approach was to actually explain, and that's where understanding the bigger picture and being able to put it across is very important. When you connect the dots and explain, and that's what I did to my global stakeholders, saying, look, yeah, we get that, we'll get it done in 18 months. But guess what? In about 18 months, we have a much bigger problem to solve, which we'll be solving for several years to come. And we may not be successful as well, right? So our organization cultural thread will be non-existent. I think that kind of certainly existed, and everybody kind of bought it. So, fundamentally, I'm sure you all have studied economics and you studied rationality and irrationality, right? I firmly believe people are generally rational. So they will get it. There might be certain personality conflicts from time to time, but we can always kind of get to manage that. But as long as you are able to get the bigger picture in front of the key stakeholders or influencers, I think you work well. And that's worked at least for me, for sure. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. So I just wanted to know something, even if you make the right choice, there's a lot of scrutiny that you get from the people that are near you. So how do you deal with that?
It's a fact of life. At the end of the day, there are only so many resources and so many wants, right? If everyone in the room wants iPhone 17, does everyone have? No, but you want it, right? So you have to make certain choices, and that will be there in the corporate life as well. We have like millions of pounds worth or dollars worth of budgets to change, transform, change our technology systems, introduce a lot of the solutions on the back of AI. But we have to still kind of prioritize, and that prioritization linked to the first point about choices will always be out there. So you will end up generating what is simple thing, again, no rocket science. What's the cost benefit analysis of that? What are we going to get by investing, by making that choice that you will actually, be able to take out. And that I think helps in terms of getting across a lot of that scrutiny. The scrutiny is always there. You call it scrutiny, we call it controls. So it's a different way to put it, but in our banking space we call it control, because at the end of the day, it's not just about what we think is right. It's about what our clients think is right. It's about what the regulators think is right. It's about what the communities think is right? So I'll give you again a simple example, real life, relatable. Everybody would have a bank account, ICICI, HDFC, right? Why have you kept your money in those banks? Why not in your home? You can file for bankruptcy. In 5 years, you will be empty. Do you guess where you will be? At the ATM. Why? Because the trust is a little bit, right? So our industry, at least, and I'm sure a lot of the other industries, we thrive on trust. So that's why we say what we call as scrutiny is our controls, and we have full-fledged kind of teams just looking with that independent lens. It's just to ensure that, as I mentioned earlier, the bigger picture is met, and we are serving the customer, the clients, the communities, the societies, as well as ensuring that we are fulfilling all the regulatory expectations as well. So, long answer, but that's a pragmatic reality.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to be the icebreaker, but since I have to ask this question, I think I'll cite this example where we started that fashion show, and then ask you to give us some ideas related to the trade-off. I'll repeat somewhat. So I'll just cite this example that we were referring to only for the context. So when we do a fashion show or any such event, we have some precedents. Precedents are there of the organization that it should start on time. It should always have music. So we are breaking some precedents to not violate some others. And here the struggle is always between organizational precedents and my personal choices. How should the organization navigate the dilemma of holding some precedents and not challenging the ones which we have upheld for years? Which is also important that we have always started our events on time. We have always had music for our event. So this is just for reference. I'm not saying that this event, but there are sometimes challenges that we don't want to violate some norms, but in the process we also take some precedents. We do that on some, we do that in leadership. So I wanted your thoughts on how do we deal with this dilemma of which precedents should be given more priority.
Yeah, and I'll probably have two contrasting views to it. Again, at least I feel as an individual, and this is something which I tell my teams. I've had teams which are 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 across the globe as well. in order to build that trust and credibility, I can't expect you to adhere to something which I can't adhere. So that's very, very fundamental, to take care that you don't have double standards. And it'll be very, very visible and common in a lot of organizations with a lot of individuals. I'm not saying it's a perfect world, but somewhere someone has to make that beginning. And that will, so even today, people whom I work with, I worked with my Deutsche team in 2008. We still have a WhatsApp group of ex-Deutsche, and we still get together and debate because we like to get to each other. Because we have common values which we've kind of thrived on. So some of these will go, I would say, lifelong, at least in my experience. So that's one side of it in terms of, when directors are also talk about role modeling. It's not about just a couple of words. As you grow in the organization, people around you are watching you. You don't even know, you don't even realize. They're watching every move. People have come back and told me, Samir, you always go for lunch at 3 p.m. because they're observing me, right? So they are so observant to the extent that they will pick up all your minute details. The more senior you get, of course, it gets very lonely at the top. But people around you are watching you, and therefore you have to be. I use the word guarding, being on guard, but you have to be careful in terms of how you are managing coming across. The other, let's say, somewhat contrasting view that we, usually maintain in the corporate circle, at least in the spaces that I've been, is that if it's not really going to blow the bank, if it's not going to get to the front page of New York Times or Financial Times or Economic Times, do it and seek forgiveness. We practice that actually. So there will be such times wherein you will do it, which probably was not something that would have followed to the T, but you'll see forgiveness that, look, it had to be done, I had to take a call, and it's on to me. But then the leader has to stand there on the decision, that this is your decision. Right? So don't try to pass the buck around. That will dilute the trust, and you'll never be able to regain it, for sure. Very difficult. I know we have some questions as well. Any other?
So, I have a question. So, first of all, good evening, sir. So, for me, there are two types of leadership. One can be where a leader stands in the front and he tells people, shows the direction. Other could be something, he lets the people work, he empowers them, he stands in the back. And striking a balance between these two is something difficult because once you establish one character, it's difficult to switch for the other. So, how to maintain that balance, or is there a balance between these?
I have a slightly, somewhat different view. Both of them coexist. So, for example, we have many of these ideation, hackathon sessions, team building events. Purposely, at least people like me and all that, and typically they would be, okay, who will be the group leader, who will be the speaker? I never do that. I let others do it. So to your point, step back is also a type of leadership, as you rightly pointed out, and it's in no way either or conflicting. It's purely scenario and situation dependent. However, when I'm presenting to, let's say, someone senior, maybe the CEO of the bank or regional CEO, then you have to be in the front, right? Not that you will not let your teams kind of present, you will. And if you gain that confidence that, okay, now you've sharpened their skills that they can, you will actually let them do the job, right? So it's very situational dependent. If there is no conflict in real life, they both will coexist. So don't think that, okay, you'll have to trade off one with the other. You'll just kind of modulate when you need to do which one. Are we done? Thoughts? Good. Great, thank you so much.
extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Samir Malotra for enriching this session with his valuable expertise and wisdom. Thank you, sir, for addressing all the questions with such clarity and enthusiasm. We now invite Mr. Kunal Kishore to share his reflections and key takeaways from Mr. Malhotra's address.
Good afternoon, respected dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, and fellow students. I, Kunal Kishore, am honored to once again extend a heartfelt welcome to everyone present at the 5th Annual Leadership Summit, AAROHAN. With our theme, Choices, Character, and Credibility that define leaders, we focus on true leadership that is not merely positional authority, but a long-term journey built on everyday choices. Our motive is to explore how integrity and values-driven actions shape a leader's identity, proving that credibility is earned through sustained behavior rather than isolated achievements in order to uncover how strong characters form the foundation of respected leadership. In a truly inspiring address, Mr. Samir Malotra drew from his vast experience to delve into situational leadership and the importance of choices, character, and credibility, emphasizing that everyone is a leader in a unique aspect and that only by building trust can one become a true leader. Furthermore, leaders must have the ability to look at the bigger picture and vision and be able to communicate those visions. Thank you for setting the tone by reminding us that leadership isn't just about strategy, but about the fundamental choices we make every day. Your insights on how credibility forms the bedrock of true influence were truly inspiring and given us a strong foundation to build upon. On behalf of the entire IIM Amritsar community, I extend my deepest gratitude to Mr. Samir for his invaluable contribution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kunal. Let me now take this opportunity to introduce our second keynote speaker of the day, Miss Mea. Miss Mea is the Senior Director, Head of Cloud Native Apps, Fujitsu, and has an experience of 22 years in information technology, where she has demonstrated her expertise in leading large teams and functions. She excels in delivery management within global environments and has a proven ability to handle complex and high-risk projects. In her current role at Fujitsu, she is responsible for providing business application services including ERP and CRM platforms such as Oracle, Microsoft, and Salesforce to customers across the globe with the help of a workforce spread across geographies. Before her current role at Fujitsu, Ms. Mea worked with Indian IT giants like Infosys and Wipro, where she specialized in the OEM and R&D divisions within the telecom sector. A key theme throughout her professional journey is her knack for turning challenges into thriving opportunities, consistently benefiting the organizations she works for. Ms. Mea is a champion for creating high-performing teams by fostering a culture of collaboration in diverse work environments. An engineer by qualification, Ms. Mea also embraces her personal passions. She loves to crochet, bake, and values the time she spends with her family. She also derives a lot of energy through monitoring and guiding women and children supporting various philanthropic activities. With that being said, let me take this opportunity to heartily invite Ms. Mea on stage. We would like to request MBA Chairperson Professor Mukesh Kumar to come on stage and felicitate Ms. Mea. deliver the keynote address.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a true honor to be part of AAROHAN, the Leadership Summit. It is not only as a learning experience for all of you, even we speakers are learning from each other's experience. Thank you, Samir, for the wonderful insights from your life, your career. It helps all of us. We have a very strong, powerful theme, character and credibility that define leaders. It might sound simple, but it has the power to define careers. Today, what I have thought for this session is that I'll not tell you about leadership frameworks. I'll tell you precisely 3 stories from my own life and try to explain what leadership is in practicality. Okay? So the first story is 22 years back, when I was just like one of you, young, energetic, full of passion, ready to conquer the world. I had done my engineering, I got into a large Indian IT firm, and before getting deployed to a project, we undergo rigorous training there. So training was done, I was put onto a project, and when I got into the project, I realized it is not just any other project. It was kind of Olympics of technology. I mean, we were working on a product which was to be used in the 3G network, core network of 3G. Today we talk about 5G, 6G very casually, but I am talking about 22 years back when 3G was a futuristic technology, not heard in the Indian market. So I got into the project, code base massive, technically complex, I a fresher, seniors, intimidatingly brilliant, I would say. I got into the project and I realized that it was very processing. Every module there was like its own kingdom, well guarded by a person called group head. Without his approval, nothing goes into the production. And before any check-in, we used to have rigorous checklists, peer review, group head approval, and finally one automated test suit for sanity run, which used to happen over the weekends. Okay? Why I am giving you all this built-up, you will understand later. But if sanity breaks, that means deployment is delayed. A lot of heartburns it used to cause, and it was a rare event. Some 6 months had passed by. I was just not surviving. I had started contributing to the project. But it was one Friday evening. I was ready to pack. I was packing my bags, or I had packed my bags, ready to escape into the weekend when my phone buzzed. I looked at it. It was my manager. He told, "Your code has broken sanity. Keep back." I rushed back to the desk, full panic. Within minutes, my lead, my manager, they were standing right behind me. They came to support me, but I felt I was on trial. Oh, sorry. There is some lag, so please bear with me. So this is a co-pilot image of me. So I was fully nervous. I could feel anything but fear. Locks were open. I could make sense of it. I froze. I completely froze. And then that's when my white phone on my desktop rang, and it was the group head who called to add to the misery I felt. He checked with me what happened. I just murmured, "I'm sorry." I could manage only that. He understood the state I was in. Very calmly, he explained, pinpointed where the issue was, asked me to test, and then sent him the test result. But before I did that, okay, the bug got fixed. But before he hung the phone, he said something very powerful. And that's why I still remember. I was a fresher then, 22 years back, and I'm quoting that incident here in this forum. That means something, right? I still remember. He said, "I'm the group head, I'm accountable, I'm responsible for any mistake which is done. These are your learning years. Learn. Do not succumb to pressure. learn from you. That was one lesson which I got very early in my life, that leadership is not authority, it is also accountability. Giving that cover to your team so that they can learn, make mistakes, grow. I continued in the project for another couple of years, 4 years, got my first promotion when I was just 2 years. It gave me a lot of confidence. That day, Group had a choice. He had a choice to shatter my confidence in seconds. He could have asked 100 grilling questions to me. But he chose character. He chose to give me confidence when I needed it the most. And this is leadership. Now that brings me to a question. Who is a leader? If I ask you, who is a leader, what would you say? I'm sure most of you would say, leader is someone people follow. Right? Fair, right? I do agree. But for a moment, close your eyes and think of a person you admire as a leader. And then tell me, what are those personal traits which you admire in that leader? I am sure if I allow you to shout, you will give me answers like, he should be trustworthy, honest, right? Visionary. Do you agree with me or not? Charismatic, right? And competent. I agree with all of you. Even I believe these are the key traits of a leader. Let's unpack it a little. Trust. You should be able to trust the words, trust the direction, trust his integrity. Visionary. The leader should be forward-looking, should be able to think beyond the quarter, beyond the KPI. Should have that charisma. A leader is competent, he has a vision, but when he shares his vision with a forum, is he able to bring people together? So he should have that energy, that presence to bring people, align people to the vision. And finally, competence. Global study says technical competence plays 15 to 20% of leader success. Rest is all behavior, choices, character, credibility. But I still feel, honestly, that you will follow someone who you believe has the skill, experience and knowledge to act as a leader. You're with me up till here? Yeah? So now another question. How do you get to know that someone has these traits? Will the LinkedIn profile tell that? Will his resume write all this? I'm visionary, I'm competent. No. You will get to know from his or her behavior how the person shows up in their daily interactions. Right? That is how you will get to know. From the choices the person makes, from the decision the person takes. Right? A leader makes, everyone here would agree with me, all the leaders sitting here, leaders make 100 decisions in a day. Some could be very simple, some are very strategic, some invisible, some defining. Every decision has path, and you choose one. Right? Now, we will leave aside the strategic decisions, but let's focus on the simple ones. Someone calls you, says, I'm sick. I'll take a day off. What is your first response? Oh, is it? Who is your backup? No, right? You will ask, how are you? Did you go and check the doctor? You ask someone to prepare a presentation, it has come out really well. The customer is very appreciative of it. You take all the credit, or you share your success. Would you let the spotlight on the person who is behind this work? You're sitting in a team meeting, something someone has done, you are not okay with it. Would you give that feedback right away or do it in private? Would you build your successor or be afraid that that successor will tomorrow replace you? You will not remain relevant. So you will not think about your second life. Would you micromanage or would you empower your team and think about these powerful questions. Would you take shortcuts? Or would you think long-term credibility? What would you choose? Short-term goals or long-term reliability and credibility? Right? Why these choices are important? Because over time, these choices become your character. And consistent character over the years build your credibility. Mr. Samir rightly said, people are watching leaders. They are decoding you. They are kind of classifying you into some of their mental buckets. You are being watched. What you say, how you say, where you say. So you need to choose carefully. Credibility is a very slow process. But one poor choice and it's broken. Yeah? So while we are at the topic of character, another story. Okay? So this story is fast forward, I am no longer a fresher, fast forward 10-12 years and I am leading a team. I am leading a product development team and for a North American customer. So we started as a minimum viable product. Over the years, expectations rose, the word minimum disappeared. Scope expanded, test cases started failing, bugs kept rising. And pressure you can imagine. Every week there were stakeholder calls. We all used to go into those stakeholders' call. I would represent the team. And there were some senior architects in the team from my team who were joining those calls along with me. Every week the temperature of those stakeholders' calls started to rise as the product launch date came closer. And in one such call, the client very clearly said, so many bugs. How do you plan to meet the dates? The launch date is non-negotiable. If you don't meet the date, then the their end customer walks off. And then whatever you have worked, whatever effort you have put in over the last couple of years is a total waste. So Meka, what is your plan to meet the date? The uncomfortable truth. No project plan was helping me meet the dates. Risk registers were screaming red. Any revised timelines was not letting me get to the date. And there were stakeholders with this tough question put across and expecting an answer from me. I did things strategically at that moment, but instinctively I said something. I said, the project plan, looking at the project plan, looking at the data on the table, it doesn't suggest we are going to meet the date, but the date is non-negotiable. Only one thing I know, that my team who is working on this project is the A team. It is the best team. If we as a team cannot deliver this, no one can. We will deliver on the committed date. The call ended, and I don't know if I could assure them or not, but I was not assured myself. I thought, what did I do just now? I just said something which was not backed by data. Just on my instinct that the team will do some magic and something will happen. I have put my neck on the line, my credibility, my reliability on stake. I didn't know that one thing, that there were senior architects on the call from my team listening to this. And that day they didn't hear commitment, they heard more than that. They heard that the leader believes in them. They heard trust, they heard that I am taking the ownership. And something shifted. When team rallies towards a shared goal and feels trusted, magic happens. This is real, I saw it, I witnessed it. With a lot of amplified energy, egos melted, they stretched, we delivered on the day against all logical probabilities. What happened there? This I realized when I was leaving the organization, and during my farewell, one of them spoke up and they said that you showed immense trust trust in us, we could not let you down. And then I realized this profound thing. That day I didn't do it strategically to motivate them. It was not part of my strategy. It was something which came from somewhere deeper. And that is what I call subconscious leadership. Where your character plays, where who you really are, that comes out in moments when outcomes are unknown. Teams don't follow authority, they follow character. With that message, I am coming to the last story. I had to include it. It is a very recent incident. It is not a story. I just experienced it a couple of months back. So just to let you know, one of my friends is in National Defence Academy and he was in Pune and I told him I want to visit National Defence Academy. Okay, the beautiful campus. We went there. I was just blown away by the majestic campus. But what caught my attention was the different sporting facilities they had. Some of the, I would say, toughest training they go through. And when he started sharing his cadet life stories, I was like shocked. I checked with him, how did you manage to do horse riding? It was out of curiosity I checked. How did you dive from that height? The last I know you from my school days, you were just like one of us. How did you manage? One thing he said me which, and that's why I'm quoting it here because I found it to change my perspective and let me think. He said, if left alone, I would not have done. But in NDA, there is a principle or a mantra which works. What is that principle? Never leave a man behind. On battlefield, they don't work as individuals, right? They work as a unit, as a team. So this mantra is taught to them. Their course mates push them to pass. They train as a unit, they do drills as a unit. Their weaknesses, if someone is falling short, it is not his problem, it becomes the batch's problem. They want him to succeed. They'll make him succeed. Okay? It was so profound and I thought, what have I learned over the years in my academics or even in corporate? Outperform others, outshine others. One person gets credit, one person gets promotion, right? Can we bring that mantra to corporate? I will leave you with that thought. Never leave a man behind. Can you become a leader who would ask the right questions? Is someone in my team struggling? Is someone struggling and not able to say that? I'll leave you with that thought. Never leave a man behind. And finally, I'll conclude with this statement. See guys, you are fresh. You will move to corporate environment soon. Right? You will all have your own paths. You need not mimic a leader. You will have your own. It's not what we see in pictures. If you ask Copilot to design an image of a leader, a man, suited, with a briefcase in his hand, ascending the stairs, that will be the output in most scenarios. Everyone's path is different. So travel whatever path, whichever, there is no right or wrong choice. Right? But build it on strong foundations of human values. So that whichever path you go, when you look back, you have created a good enough impact. In this world of AI, people who have the most human values, who shows up the most human values, would be the differentiators. With that, choose carefully. That is credibility and that is leadership. Thank you. With that, I don't know any questions you have or any reflections from my stories which you want to check.
Hello. Basically, in an organization, for instance, some unscrupulous thing happens, which was not at all expected and anticipated by the organization. That particular thing, the media gets hit of it, and the leader the media gets a hint of it, that something unscrupulous has happened. Now, after that, the media always bites on the actual leader, right? So the person who has actually done that does not get any, follow effect. The leader has to bear the brunt of the follow. Now, how can an organization or the leader for that matter anticipate this? And if possible not anticipate, how can a leader prepare for this? That's my question.
Very rightful question, which reminds me of something which I will not find it apt to share here. But yeah, whoever is in that position comes or holds that position with a promise that whatever is thrown at him, he will be able to, with dignity, handle it. Okay, so when you take that role, you sign up for it. It might have happened long ago, right? But if the media wants an answer now, you will have to do your research and get back. You cannot shy away from the responsibility. Yeah, you are holding that position and you took that position knowing what comes with it. Did I answer your question? Thank you. Any other question, anyone?
Thank you for sharing these three stories. And my question may not be related completely, so you can choose to share as much as you want to. I'm writing a case which is related to reskilling, and that is related to your last mantra, never leave a man behind. Now, today we are facing the dilemma that reskill our men or hire new men. Right? So, I wonder, especially in the IT sector, the choice is very difficult. And cultural values also train us that we should not let go, we should not leave the man behind. So, how does it work in this context, especially in the IT sector? If you can relate it to never leave the man behind, rather reskill them and get them back.
Sure. Very good question, very pertinent question. I would love to answer it. So IT industry is also undergoing a transformation, and this dilemma comes to us more than you expect, right? The first option is always focused on upskilling, reskilling our own internal people. Yeah? Because financially also it works well. Plus, you have a pool of people available right today, right here, who can be reskilled. There will be situations where you don't need to train a full pool. You just have one requirement of a particular super niche skill. You have to go to the market and hire. Okay? Unless it is something which is just one level up, or if you just upskill your current resource, you'll be able to pick it, right? But if not, then it's always preferable to reskill. You can have a balanced approach as well. Have 5% from the market who are already trained, build teams around them. Hire their team lead and have some people around him who he can cultivate, right? Never leave a man behind means that you create high-performing teams. There could be people who are just lying in shadows, others are getting all the laurels, they are working well, they are stretching the load, but there are few who are not able to cope up and no one is looking at them. No one is extending that help to them. That is what I meant, never leave a man behind. But to answer your question, reskilling, upskilling would be my first approach. In circumstances, we have to go to the market, that is inevitable. We will have some percentage from the market and we'll try to build others around. Any other question? No? Are we good? Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. is about aligning individual goals of the individuals to the group goals. So what are the key strategies that a leader can implement to aligning the goals of individuals to that of the group goal of the organization?
This is something which we miss it often. Okay, it is a very common problem, and I keep talking to my teams as well about it. When we do some assignment of work, we do it at a very modular level. You need to work on this particular area, do these 10 changes, and we are good. We never show the bigger picture to the team. We never tell them how they are adding value to the business of the end customer. Right? What significant improvement they are bringing on the table. And that's when they lose momentum, they lose, okay, this is it, right? This is what I'm doing. To align them to the goal, to vision of the company, to vision of the customer is key in IT sector. So to align them to the vision of the customer, you need to make sure every member of your team understands how they are contributing to their business. Not just that simple, minute level information which we impart to them. Rather, the entire story. Okay? If suppose I tell someone that you work on this particular portal, you develop this portal, and this is the page you need to develop for employers to onboard. Rather than telling that, I tell them that you know what you are doing. You are moving in an insurance sector, a bank in an insurance sector, from paper-based to digital. You are impacting hundreds of lives there. They will no longer be paper-related. You are supporting sustainability in a way. If I give these examples, it's much more powerful, right? Rather than telling them build this employer portal. That is what we lack. That is what we need to improve on as leaders. Yeah.
Thank you for the address. My main question is, you mentioned never leave a man behind. How does one essentially reconcile that with one's desire to move up ahead in the corporate ladder? Because you won't start as a leader, or at least you start in a position, then you want to move ahead, and as you keep growing, how exactly do you bring all write-offs to yourself while holding your message in consideration?
Okay, so your question, if I rightly understood, is how do you grow up in the ladder if everyone moves together, right? What would be those differentiators? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, very valid question. A leader needs to see who needs what and play on people's strength. Okay? Someone might be good in analysis, someone might be good in validation, someone might be good in stakeholder management, and accordingly the leader needs to develop the team. That becomes a high-performing team. Coming to your question as an individual. If you are in a team and you want to grow, how do you grow in such an environment where everyone is being focused on? Please remember this one thing. If a project is successful, it is not due to one person. It's always a team effort. It is always a team effort. And you cannot expect that you will be promoted if you are operating in a failed project. Your project needs to be successful for even someone noticing you. Right? So, first, a failed project, the burden is to be borne by everyone in the team, and success should also be shared. For an individual, there are ways and means, and you all are learning, you are grooming yourself, there are ways and means to showcase what you have done above and beyond your regular responsibilities to show up. Yeah? You need to, what I meant by never leave a man behind is not that everyone will be at the same level. Then in our defense sector, no one would get promoted, right? There are certain traits which will still be visible. Never leave a man behind means everyone needs to be taken care of. Do not neglect someone who is struggling and not able to speak up that I need support. Yeah? There are ways and means for you to grow up the ladder. First thing, work hard. Second thing, whatever you have done, please be able to showcase to your leadership. Both are equally important.
I have a question. So it's not applicable question, but from the first topic that you mentioned, I was reminded of the
small mistake I've done and whatever. And then after a few years, of course, I got wonderful managers, wonderful team, but then I came across one more person who was good, but she reminded me that what it is for a manager to listen, because she didn't have the ability to listen, she kept talking. But anyway, I always kept thinking that when people become managers, and I'm not saying like the top level managers, even at bottom level, there are multiple levels. I think there should be some training, I feel, that they should get how to interact with people, because I have found capability that most of the people don't have, and it is very important to have in an organization.
Right, very true. And organizations are working in that direction. They are having training programs for managers, more on the software aspects, right? Technology they have learned and they are there because of their technical skills. Because before being a manager, you hold on to your technical acumen, technical abilities, right? But after becoming a manager, you are dealing with different set of people, and people management is tough. People management is tough, and there your character plays out. The experiences which you had, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon, and that's why that group head I still remember. Right? He was an industry veteran, decades of experience. For people like them, we say that their silence also commands respect. 30 years, 25 years, he had written the code in scratch, and now he was talking to a fresher who first made a blunder, second, she is not able to debug, she is panicking, right? He would have shattered my confidence then and there. What he chose. And that is what we want to inculcate in people. Give people chance, be that sponge, that cushion for your team so that they can explore. And managers coaching, I can't agree more. We need to coach our managers to be not just managing projects and finances and numbers, but beyond that. At least IT industry is, the core is people, and we need to take care of that. Any other questions? No? I think you had a question. Someone had raised a hand, but then the mic. Sing? Okay, good. So, yeah, please.
My question is, if my team is making mistakes tomorrow, right, then what should be my response? Whether I should go with the authority or should I go with accountability? Like, authority means who had made this mistake and just like to let the team know, like you have made a mistake. Or with the accountability, like I'll go and take the lead, that let's fix it together. What should I do?
What do you think you should do?
It's all
about choices. You choose and tell me what should you do.
I think firstly I will go with the authority to let the team know that you have made a mistake, and then if the team is not able to cope up with the things, I will take it.
Your choice, not right or wrong, my choice. I would try to find the root cause why the mistake was done. It could be that the person who has made the mistake is not skilled enough. It could be that it is not the right fitment for the project. It could be something very humanly. Maybe, he overlooked something, and this is one of instances where he has committed a mistake. I'll look at various options. I'll give time to that analysis. Okay? Not jump to the conclusion that, okay, I need to get into a room and fashion or harsh decisions. You have the authority. Authority comes with your title, you have that authority. But use it at the last. Yeah, try. At least my choice would be more of a collaborative approach. But people do that. People use authority as well. When you have made this mistake, I don't want it to be repeated again. I would suggest try and find out why that mistake has been done in the first place. Give that some time. Give him a chance to explain to you what happened. Maybe it is an understanding gap. Maybe how the requirements were told to him that the issue was there. He should not face the burden for someone else's mistake. Deep dive. Deep dive and then take your call. That will be your choice.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, thank you so much. Thank you for
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Miss Mea for enriching this session with her valuable expertise and wisdom. We now invite Mr. Kunal Kishore to share his reflections and key takeaways from Miss Mea's address.
Leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It is about one life influencing other. Following this, Ms. Mea shared her expertise on the practical aspects of leadership through a few life-inspiring events, explaining that leadership is not about accountability, rather it does not focus on positional authority, rather it focuses on accountability. Leaders must show true character and focus on collective progress rather than individual achievement. We are grateful for your perspective that leadership is a marathon of accountability and not a sprint for quick wins. Your words highlighted the immense power of values-driven action in building lasting trust with stakeholders, which is the essence of this year's theme. On behalf of the entire IIM Amritsar community, I extend my deepest gratitude to Miss Mea for her invaluable contributions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kunal. Let me now take this opportunity to introduce our third keynote speaker for the day, Mr. Anitesh Singh. Mr. Anitesh Singh is the CEO of V-Spark Deep Tech Ventures, a seasoned corporate venture capital and innovations leader with nearly 2 decades of experience spanning startup investments, advisory, finance leadership, and ecosystem building. He leads Vedanta Group's deep tech and corporate venture capital platform, partnering with high potential startups to deploy cutting-edge solutions across metals, mining, manufacturing, and ESG, driving measurable improvements in cost efficiency, productivity, and sustainability. Under his leadership, V-Spark has evolved into a multi-engine platform encompassing venture clienting, strategic investment, and venture creation, with the vision of building a billion-dollar industrial deep tech ecosystem. Mr. Anitesh has played a pivotal role in scaling V-Spark into one of India's leading corporate innovation programs, enabling startups to create tangible value across multiple business units. He brings cross-sector expertise across technology, renewable energy, manufacturing, fintech, and digital platforms, blending financial rigor with operational excellence and strong ecosystem partnerships. His prior to Vedanta, his leadership roles at LinkedIn, KPMG, GE, and Greenlight Planet are also appreciated. He also served as a partner, head of advisory, and CFO at SEMA Funds, managing over $200 million in energy and impact funds. A certified public accountant, chartered accountant, and company secretary, he has completed executive education in private equity and venture capital from ISB. He has been recognized among India's top 20 CFOs and is also a recipient of Global Achievers Award. With that being said, let me take this opportunity to to heartily invite Mr. Anitesh Singh on stage. We would like to request Dr. Anitesh Sharma, IIM faculty, to felicitate Mr. Sinha. Thank you very much, sir. Now, we humbly request Mr. Anitesh Singh to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you. So, do you guys know what is common between Arjun, the character of Mahabharata, and the young professionals like you? So, both were unsure, confused, right, at various moments. But both Arjun and young professionals choose to move anyway. So that's very interesting, and I'll deep dive into some of these aspects. But before doing that, let me give you a fact. There's the slide which is up there, and it is very coincidental that I got a room which overlooks the airport. And I was wondering, because I saw flights landing in the night and taking off in the morning, landing. So I was wondering, does aircraft needs a perfect condition to do landing and takeoff? Probably not. Because we have seen aircraft landing in crosswinds, heavy rains, fogs. There are so many instruments and equipment these days. But what makes it different? Probably three things. That you have a perfect alignment, a perfect direction, and a perfect acceleration to take off. So I think whatever condition we face, if we have certain things which we need to do in certain way, we will make it happen. So before we deep dive into the excellent topic, and I think it resonates very well with the past 20 years I have been serving in the corporate. I think I would like each one of you to applaud for yourself. Give a big round of applause to be here. Because we all know that self-love is the best love, so we should always try and appreciate ourselves as much as we can. So now getting into this topic of choices, character and credibility, it's very important when it comes to making choices. And the choices which we make makes us. And I think choices made on daily basis are far more important than when we talk about making a big choice about your career, about your profession, about which school or what education you take. But I think the most important thing is the daily choices which we all make. And these daily choices makes our character. And if we are in a good direction, the right character, done things consistently, builds up the credibility. So I think these three things are very important when we talk about how we should shape our career, how we should behave in a corporate world, or what we should do to make us successful. Now, I was at the dinner last night when we were talking about, I made various diverse choices about my career. Some of it was forced, some of it was my choice. But there are people, like, after doing CLM stuff, to
accounting firms doing auditing, but I chose a different career. But doesn't make me extra successful, and a person who is partner in KPMG is not successful? The answer is no. So success is a very personal choice. We may get judged by our designations of the stature, what we have, how much money we earn. It's all about what we feel inside. I was in the Golden Temple in the morning and I saw a person holding a stick. I believe he stands all day during while you enter at the gate. And that's why the stick was specially designed for him to make stand the whole day. Is he not successful? Is he not happy? He is. And he enjoys what he is doing, otherwise there's no reason why he will be standing. He'll be doing something else. So I think these daily choices are far more important to figure out our inflection points. Now I'll tell you a few things which connecting to my journey, because as I was introduced, you would have heard that I have my degrees in finance. I did start my career in finance, but I moved on into different roles, probably because of the North Star which I had. So even before I go there, and Dr. Srivastava is not here, I was talking to him over lunch, that he asked me that, you're a CA, but you have such a diverse experience and you're doing something else which has no relation to finance, because I'm running a deep tech venture for a metal and mining company which has nothing to do with finance. And then I told him, look, when I was young, I always wanted to be an engineer. First I wanted to become a doctor, then engineer, but ultimately it was a forced decision on me because of my bad situation that I have to pick chartered accountancy, because application to a CA course was about 125 rupees. The annual cost was less than 10,000 rupees, and the total course to become a CA, if you don't go to a coaching, is less than 20,000. The whole 4 or 5 years course. And I chose that because of some reasons. And then I moved into finance as an auditor. So that's what I'm saying. Your early choices sometimes may be forced, unforced, but you have to make the best out of it. So I made daily choices while I was doing CA, because in the first class, when I went to a coaching class, I had no idea about debit certificates, because I came from a science background, because I was preparing for my engineering. But then the daily choices which I made, I called up my elder brother's friend who was a BCom topper to help me teach some accounting lessons, and he did help me with that. So those are the things which you do, small things, makes your character. Those choices makes your character. Now talking about the career choices after, you got to start. So CA, the entry is super easy. Anyone can fill up a CA form and say, I'm a CA aspirant. Exit, extremely difficult, because we know the passing percentage of CA is about 2 to 4%, which is slightly difficult. But what happens after that? You move on. You get into a job, campus, off campus. But I realized one thing, and with a show of hands, maybe this, and I believe people will not judge you in showing off your hands, because this is a question which is can be taken in various ways. Everybody wants to be successful, but how many people want to make a very good amount of money, do things for your family, your friends, siblings? How many of you want to make a good, real deal money, right? Probably I'm seeing 80%, 90%, and some of them are too lazy to raise their hand or thinking they will be judged. And I don't shy away from saying that was one of my North Star, that I wanted to make good amount of money. And then I realized when I was an auditor, when I was auditing with KPMG, that job, by the way, I loved auditing. I was learning a lot of things because I come from a very small town, not small now, but it's on the global map, Ranchi, Jharkhand, which is the capital city. but I came from Ranchi to a place where I had chartered accountants from Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, competing with me, who had a various experiences already. But I coming from that background, I was trying to compete with them. I was trying to catch up on not many things. Then I realized that while doing auditing, I would make good amount of money. People make good amount of money being a partner at these accounting firms. But I wanted to really make it big. So then I realized what makes it big. What makes it big is picking up a role at venture capitals, because that is where things were moving in India. We were talking about startups, Flipkart just came, and InMo came. So I'm talking about 2006 to 10, where the whole concept of startups and funding and VC were coming up, and then I realized that this is where I want to go, because I want to make good money. I started, while doing my KPMG job, I started applying and was left, right, and center getting rejected with Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and whatnot, because that's where I was trying to get into investment banking, etc. And also, I applied to a lot of boutique VC firms in Bangalore. Again, rejections. One of the things I was told that we only hire MBAs from tier 1 institutes, and I didn't have an MBA. So then I realized what to do. I have to keep growing, I have to keep learning. So that North Star continued. I think it was still that I have to make money. But I did not actually break it down. That what does that mean in terms of making money? Then I broke it down. What does it mean? One person at Goldman Sachs told me that you have to be a MBA grad from a tier 1 institute. So then I realized I have to learn. Someone said you do not have the skill set of being a VC. So then you start working on something which you build up your skills on VC side of things. Someone said you have to build your network. So I broke down that North Star of making money into these small pieces, and I started working on. So I moved on with KPMG to NVIDIA, which is now one of the most sought companies to work. But back then, it was any other cost-plus company in India doing R&D on chips, and it was not even in crypto was not even there, and it was GPU loved by gamers, etc. But I joined NVIDIA to join GE because I was an auditor at GE, and they said, we would like to offer you a financial controller position, but you have to have a cooling period of 1 year. So NVIDIA was my cooling period. So as soon as I completed 1 year, I went back to GE as a finance controller and a supply chain finance manager, which was diversified, some sort of, give me some background about having operating knowledge. Then I kept moving. But again, that having North Star, working on these aspects helped me a lot. And I think you are at a point of career in your life that you should start working on what you want to do. It's a very tough question because I believe if you are able to define your North Star, half the battle is already done, and start breaking it down and start working on it. Now, talking about character test, and okay, let me take a step back. Still on the choices. Again, then after GE, I had an opportunity to move to Greenlight Manor because my GE CFO moved to Greenlight, and it was somewhat that he told me, "Okay, come and join me at Greenlight." I joined as a finance controller, but within 9 months, he moved to a business head position, and he said, "It's your choice whether you stay at the controller position or take a CFO role." I was so amazed to understand that why even I being offered within 9 months a CFO role where it requires fundraising and I have zero experience. So I had a choice whether to stay comfortable in my global controllership position or take up the CFO role and learn through it. I introspected a lot and just took a plunge that I should just take up the CFO role because let's see, I will learn through the role. And that's what just happened. So that was a choice. I'm now coming to the character, right? So that fundraising thing hit me in the first month I took up the role, and I have to raise about 2.5 million for us to keep maintaining the runway. And then I very clearly told my board, look, this is something which I have to learn, and I'll do it. So that is the character which I built, that I was very honest. And I was very transparent. I did not say, no, don't worry. Like all Indians have that mentality to never say no and always a yes man to many of our leaders. But I was very honest by saying, look, this is something I need to work on. I need people. I hired some investment bankers from KPMG to help me along my journey. And I was very open that there is a cost which I would like to incur as a company, but this will help me. And it worked out. So that character was very much loved by the board and the CEO, and that's how I grew. That's how I grew within Greenlight Planet, taking COO position in just 1 year of me becoming CFO. And then journey continued at Greenlight Planet. Another thing, what makes your character, I think America and Sanjeev both touched upon, is values. Those are non-negotiable. You have to be very honest, very ethical about what you do. There may be some short wins which will help you, but taking shortcuts damages your long-term growth. So values are extremely important. And I did a poll last night. Someone helped me do that. I think Sam helped me do that. And I think I'll share the results. But one of the things which came up was nobody wants to. One of the options which was highly voted was about the values. So that's very good to see, because it helps you in your long term, and the character which you build and consistency which you bring in your character will define your credibility. So I think that is something which you need to keep working on. Now, why credibility matters? I was given a task to make Greenlight Planet profitable in 2 quarters. We tried, and fortunately it happened. So that credibility which we created at Greenlight, the board and the CEO had a lot of confidence. And same at various tasks, at LinkedIn and everywhere. Wherever you go, being honest, and I think there is no escape from hard work. Whatever we say that smart work, you do it this way, you do it that way. I think the most important thing which has really worked for me is the hard work and the discipline. I think these are the two, again, important factors which adds up to your character, which ultimately builds your credibility. So I think those are the two important things which always should go with you. Now, how do you create trust? It's easy, it's very theoretical. Trust is again built by consistency and your right values. One thing which I learned, this was during LinkedIn, when as a India CFO of LinkedIn, I realized that there are so many priority things which can be done with LinkedIn India. But when we look at the global picture, LinkedIn was just acquired by Microsoft, and there were many other aspects which at a global level was slightly different from how we were thinking in India. So then I realized, and my wife was a banker back then, and KYC was very popular, right? So I thought, similar to KYC, we should also have KYL, know your leaders. I think that's very important. And that's, in LinkedIn I realized knowing the leaders is very important, even though you have a good prospect, even though you have good business idea which will really prosper. But knowing the leadership, knowing what the management want, what is the global picture, what is the high level picture, you keep working towards that. And ultimately keep pushing your agenda whatever you can. But ultimately you have to understand whatever is the requirement, irrespective of our personal views. That helps build that credibility. And I'll tell you one thing, when we hired at Vedanta, especially in V's part, one of the things we, together with the promoter family, we look for is loyalty.
And how do we test that? So we are fortunate that we are within part of the group which has 2 lakh employees and we hire sometimes internally. So we have that luxury of testing people through various means. So I think when you grow, and how to test loyalty is very difficult, like you can't test it with just on paper test or online test. It comes within when you start working with them. And so you have to become a full-time at Respark, you have to pass through that lesson test. We might sometimes be wrong and we go wrong, that's okay. But ultimately, for us, talent is important, loyalty is important, and dedication and discipline is important. So I think all of these combined, if we keep working, this helps us build that credibility which we all want at the end of the day. So I think, talking about these 3 aspects of choices, character and credibility, the most important thing for us is to keep working towards it. You have to put an effort. Sometimes it is organic, sometimes it is inorganic, but both ways you will have to put a conscious effort to make things work, knowing your environment. And that's what I've learned in my career, that whatever path you choose, there is no right or wrong, but you can make it right. So you have to keep working towards it. I think I talked about in terms of my choices. I was forced into this and I chose that. So it worked out. Sometimes it might not. Probably, I was also forced into an operating role where I had not much of an experience. I struggled, but I learned. Again, second thing is important, as I said, having a North Star for all of us. And I think Menika said that, everything is fine, but having that humanness, having that kindness is also very important. Break down your North Star into steps, it's fine, but have that in you, keep working. And lastly, I would say it's never too late for anything. While I was coming here, I was on a call from about 12 to 1:15, and there's a gentleman aged roughly about 56. He has accomplished a lot in his career, but still he is passionate about launching a startup. So we were having a conversation with him and one of the investors, and that made me realize that it's never too late to do anything. And same goes with our chairman, he is in his 70s, but he learns every day. This AI summit has happened, and he has asked us to prepare a summary of what can be implemented in Vedanta. He sometimes challenges us with the AI tool which he uses with his interns, in terms of being productive, in terms of how to manage tasks, etc. So learning never ends. Being kind is always good, it helps. Not always your authority or talent or anything works, but most of the time being kind works, even at the workplace, when we are trying to accomplish. And I think in your example, Monica, it really showed that how your manager was compassionate about you in terms of making things happen. And I think there was one question that if somebody has done a mistake, what you should do. Of course, you do the RCA, root cause analysis, and then you try and fix it. But I think the first thing that you should do, because we are in a customer world, everyone is serving. Either your customers are internal or your customers are external. The first thing what we try to do at Respark is make sure that the mistake is reverted, rectified, mitigated, whatever can be done, so that the flow continues. And then we introspect and see what can be mitigated. So it's a customer first world. So with that, I leave it to you with thoughts. I'm happy to answer if there's anything which pops up in your mind.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the insightful address. So, we have got this dialogue from Spider-Man that with great power comes great responsibility. As we talked about the power of choices, we often exercise the power to make choices, but we get overwhelmed with the responsibility that comes with it. So, based on your experience, what would be your advice to us young budding professionals to handle those responsibilities?
So I think you'll have to see whenever a responsibility comes, it is flowing from the top, right? That you have to accomplish something. If you understand, even the smallest or minutest of a task. I will give you an example of my very first month at APM. CA is a nice degree to have, right? And you feel very proud about it once you accomplish that. So there was a very senior partner, even though in age he was the youngest, but he was very senior as a hierarchy in the organization. And I was at the Infosys campus, and I was auditing the revenues, which I used to take pride in. Then one day he just came, and it was not even late, it was somewhere late evening, about 8 to 9 p.m. And he told us that, and we used to have those traditional big files, we have to punch it and put the documents in the file. So we have to put hole bags, the small dots which you put it in the holes of those papers so that when you transport it doesn't come off the files. And all the CAs were told to do that. The articles left. That was his instruction. And we were like astonished that this is article's job, why are we doing it? There's a manager came, he told that he's testing. I said, what he's testing? He's just trying to show his authority. But then we realized that while we were doing it, we made it fun, right? We put it some music and all. We did it the whole night because those are big files. And those files next morning we were told is going to US for a PCOB review. So that made me realize that look, number one, that task was supposed to be done. Why he chose us, maybe as a senior will do a better job putting those protectors in the file. So you have to understand the responsibility and where is it coming from? Is it very important for the organization, for the leader? The moment you understand it, I think you'll be able to better deliver and serve.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Siddharth, and I have a question. So, I have a question that since venture capitalists determines who builds the institution, who builds the technologies, so there is an element of confidentiality here. But for a long-term perspective, the person needs to have a lot of character as well. So, while making your investment decisions, how do you balance both of these things?
Look, again, when you are making investments, you will hear from a lot of, okay, I'm supporting entrepreneurs, I want to build an ecosystem, all that is fine. At the end of the day, and if you don't know, only 2 out of 10 startups actually give you returns in terms of your investments. That's the global benchmark. But still, every investment which is done, we always believe is going to give me at least 5x return or 10x return. Right? So forget about the character of the founder or the character of the team, etc. The first thing you focus on is this product going to work. Does it have a market? And does it have a market means, does it have a product market fit? And will the team be able to execute it? Then comes anything else about the character or anything which relates to the. Of course, that is also important. But sometimes what happens is an exception that there are serial entrepreneurs, there are people who have made it, who come from a big corporate. For example, again going back to the call which I was having at 2 p.m., this gentleman has held CXO roles in very reputed organizations. So it's easy for him to raise money. Maybe he picks on the character of the credibility which is built. That happens. But the ultimate, and that might be an exception, but what happens is those 3 things are critical. The market, the product market fit, the execution and the team. Then comes anything else.
Thank you so much for the evening, sir. I had this question that from all the choices that we make, whether those choices are, like you said, forced or made by our own, and the circumstances that we go through during the career or in general in life. So if the circumstances can be good or bad, depending upon them, the character that is built. How do you, if the character is good or bad now, then how do you define that? If the circumstances are bad, there's a possibility that a person builds a wrong character. And then how do you define those choices were right or wrong, the situation, depending upon the situation?
I think harsh circumstances actually bring up the good character. As long as you go back to the same topic of what I said, having strong values, the moment you adopt it and it becomes non-negotiable, you will be in an area that even though circumstances are bad, and sometimes it happens in corporates, we have seen a lot in India globally that there are circumstances where employees are forced to do something which no one should do in the organization. It happens. But us as professionals have to choose what is best for us. If things become to a point where you're seeing something is not done correctly, so it is unethical, you have to make that choice and you go back of having a stronger value. If you have that value system, then it helps a lot. And I tell you, when I talk about value system, we Indians are blessed. And you know, if you go to, I worked in US, I worked a lot with European people, nothing against anyone or any problem. But the way Indians are blessed of the middle class value system, because say 80 to 90% of us come from that background, that modest background, and that value system of even saving the toothpaste to a soap, sticking to another new one. It may sound very ridiculous, but at the end of the day, in our subconscious mind, it works. And it works very differently. So we should be blessed. I think we should inculcate and we should appreciate that value system and hold it till the last. That we will not deviate. It's a non-negotiable thing for me. So even in the toughest scenarios, it will be easier for you to choose. And another thing which I apply and have realized, when a point comes, what decision you need to make, most of the time, the difficult decision is the right decision. So I think that helps us in deciding what's right or wrong. Probably one last question if we have.
I've been asking questions to all speakers, so I will have one for you too. And I saw that there is a theme in your speech where you talked of character influencing choices and choices influencing credibility, right? And you come from a city which you introduced as a small one, but no longer a small one. For me, when I moved from a smaller to Ranchi because I'm married to someone in Ranchi, I felt that I was graduating to the bigger city. So I wanted to understand how someone who doesn't have any choices to support with their character can build their credibility. Because there is a linear progression. Our MBA students have not made any choices. They will only go with character. So for small town or small city, what is the advantage they carry from small town or city in terms of their character that helps them in building their credibility? Because I see that in your journey too. So could you share how your character helped you in that question?
Yeah, first thing I slightly disagree. These guys don't have choices, but you don't know, every day they are making one choice. Every day they will be waking up and thinking whether I pick up a corporate job or whether I do something on my own or go back to my family business. So every day, it might not show,
how they are operating, or it might not show instantaneously, but every day, everyone makes a choice subconsciously, consciously. Now, when you're talking about character, I think one character, it's a very easy to say never give up, this definitely helps. You keep working towards your goal. And one thing, like values, you have to have certain non-negotiable things in your life of what you want to do or what you not. For example, just as simple as that I had good opportunities to join some very good companies in Bangalore back in 2006-07, but those were in taxation. And I used to hate taxation. As a chartered accountant, which is like somebody who loves taxation as a profession, the CA practitioner, I used to hate it. And that choice was, I made it, because even though I was getting 50% high during that Lehman Brothers situation of 2008, there was a job crisis, we did not get any hikes in KPMG during that time, but I made that choice. That even if it is a 50% jump, I will not take it, because that's my character of not liking tax. So I think that being strong-headed always of certain things which you dislike, don't pick it up. Make that as your character, because ultimately it might not pay off. It may, but exceptions are always there, but I think that character of having strong head, of course these school teaches you so much, but this is something which will come from you, from your inside. Okay, cool. So with that, I'll sign off and thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Sinha for enriching this session with his valuable expertise and wisdom. Thank you, sir, for answering all questions with such clarity and enthusiasm. We now invite Mr. Kunal Kishore to share his reflections and key takeaways from Mr. Sinha's address.
Consistency is the true currency of trust. Expanding on this, Mr. Anitesh Singh pointed out that the choices we make makes us. Hence, we ought to make the best out of the choices that we make, be it an independent choice or a forced one. We are grateful for your perspective on how credibility is a currency earned through consistency, trust, and hard work, and not just a title we hold. Reiterating the fact that honesty is the best policy, thank you for addressing the crucial challenge for maintaining integrity when faced with pressure and conflicting expectations. On behalf of the entire IIM Amritsar community, I extend my deepest gratitude to Mr. Anitesh for his invaluable contributions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kunal. Let me now take this opportunity to introduce our fourth keynote speaker of the day, Miss Sumita Pani. Miss Sumita Pani is the Senior Vice President and Head of Business Development, Business Ethics and Compliance, and Lupin Ability at Lupin Limited. With over 3 decades in the pharmaceuticals and healthcare sector, she has built a distinguished career across business leadership, sales and marketing, and mergers and acquisitions. A zoology honors graduate from Miranda House with a management degree from IIT, she began her journey at Lupin and continues to play a pivotal role in shaping its strategic growth. Ms. Sumita has been instrumental in bringing in licensed patented therapies to India and leading landmark acquisitions of global diabetes trademarks, significantly expanding patient access to advanced treatments. Recognizing the unmet need in neurological rehabilitation, she founded Ability, Lupin's Neuro Rehabilitation Center, providing comprehensive, world-class care for patients with neurological disabilities and improving quality of life for thousands of families. A strong advocate of patient-centric healthcare, she has driven innovative marketing and compliance practices while setting industry benchmarks through strategic brand building. Among the early women leaders in a traditionally male-dominated industry, she is widely regarded as a trailblazer who has opened pathways for greater inclusivity in pharma leadership. Miss Sumita is also a published thought leader, TEDx speaker, and recipient of numerous honors including Best Woman Leader in Pharma by the Economic Times, Pharma Leader of the Year, and Global Woman Leader by the World Women Congress. Beyond her professional pursuits, she is a yoga enthusiast and passionate traveler who believes in holistic wellness. With that being said, let me take this opportunity to heartily invite Miss Sumita on stage. We would like to request Chairperson Students Affairs, Dr. Ananya Singh, to come on stage and felicitate Miss Sumita. Thank you very much, ma'am. We cordially invite Miss Sumita to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you for this kind introduction. Good afternoon, I am Amritsar.
Good afternoon.
Can we have it better?
Good afternoon.
So it's a real pleasure to be among with you today. So I'm Sumita Malotra, and I introduce myself as a dreamer and a doer. So today I'd like to take you through my leadership journey, and I'd like to describe you some of my experiential experiences through my leadership journey. So this is one of my favorite pictures. You know, it goes back to 30 years. So I started my journey about 3 decades ago with very humble beginnings as a sales representative in a pharmaceutical company called Lupin. And this also was by choice, because being in sales subjects you to so much of rejection that you build resilience over time. You can see the poster in the back. You know, in this picture, I am practicing the detailing of my product relentlessly to make that perfect pitch. And the poster says, you are here because of your thoughts, and you will be tomorrow where your thoughts will take you. And my thoughts, even then, were very, very clear. What I wanted to do was, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a difference to the country. I wanted to make a difference to the company I work in, to the industry I work in, to the people I work with, and to the people whom I serve with my products. And because my thoughts were very clear, all my actions were aligned to the thoughts, and all the choices were in that direction. And I earned credibility, I think so. Very humbly, I would like to say that I earned credibility internally, externally, tangible and intangible. And some of the tangible credibilities were, I was named as Woman Power Leader, top 100 in Asia. I earned the title of Best Pharma Leader, Best Woman Leader by Economic Times, by World Women Congress, and very recently by Outlook Business as Nation Builders Award, Femina, and also very recently, I'm so proud to have featured in the IPA, India Pharma Association's coffee table book as a human champion from Ruby. And I think this has been the result of the choices, the character, and the credibilities that were followed through all through. Now, for a moment, I would say, keep leadership a little bit away. We as humans, if you see, these three C's are greatly interlinked with each other: character, choices, and credibility. So I will say that character is basically the internal value system that dictates certain choices, and your character is reflected to the outside world through your actions. And when these actions are consistent over a period of time, you build credibility. So I would like to simulate this with the tree of life, which I'm always very fascinated with. So character is basically, I think, is like the root of the tree, which perhaps is not seen to the outside world, but it is the basic foundation of who you are, like the roots are to the tree. Now your character is reflected to the outside world through your actions and through your choices that you make. And this is typically the stem and the branches which is visible to the outside world. And over a period of time, through your consistent actions and your choices, you can see the credibility, which are the beautiful flowers, fruits, and the leaves, which is seen to the outside world in this beauty. Now coming to leadership. So when we talk about character, which, like I said, it is the basic building block, or it is the root of every human being or a leader, when we talk about character of a leader, what comes to our mind? Anybody? What good character symbolizes to you? Yes? Okay, so I think more often than not, we relate character with integrity, moral, ethics, etc. Of course, these are very, very important. These are the basic building blocks. As per Harvard Business Review and a research which was published in the Harvard Business Impact, it said that yes, character, integrity is very, very important. But besides that, there is more to a leader's character. And there are 7 different characters that define a great leader. And these are integrity, self-awareness, determination, empathy, courage, optimism, and curiosity. And these are the superpower of a great leader. Now what I'll try to do is, I'll not be able to take through each of these, but I will pick 3 of them and I will relate these with some of my life stories. We all know what is integrity. It is doing the right thing when no one is watching, but in our everyday life, it is a functional daily decision that we make every day and which is consistent to our stated values. And the choices arising out of this is walking the talk, showing the consistency, being fair, and also owning the mistakes, taking accountability. Now, drawing from here, I'd like to share a story with you, owning the mistakes. Now, I take you back many years ago. So Lupin was primarily a company that was focused on anti-TB the disease epidemiology from the infectious diseases to the chronic diseases. So Lupin as an organization decided to foray into the chronic diseases starting with cardiology. And I was one of the few people chosen to drive this foray into cardiology. 10 years down the line, around 2009-10, we were one of the fastest growing companies in cardiology. We were ranked number 3. Because of this success, I was tasked with another role, that is to launch another team in cardiology. So, I launched another team in cardiology, but 2 years down the line, I thought that since cardiology and nephrology are kind of tied to each other, let me launch some nephrology products into the cardiology. But the result was, because there was a dilution in the focus in cardiology, the performance was kind of dwindling. So this raised a lot of concern in the management. There was a choice here, either to continue with the kind of strategy because it came from my mind, or to go and own up to the mistake, that acknowledge that this was a mistake from my side. And it was a tough call because I was somewhere in the mid-management then. It was a strategy of getting into a different segment which did not pick up well. So I went to the management and said that this is a strategy which has failed, and the best thing is to come out of this and prune all the products and refocus on the cardiology segment. My manager then said, like Medica's manager then, he said that you came up with the idea, at that point in time we thought that it is a good one. If it has not worked well, it's okay. It's okay, it should not stop you from bringing new ideas. We have lost some money in it, but we'll take care. But this should not stop you from thinking and bringing in new ideas to table. And that gave me so much of comfort. So here, my going and owning up to the mistake and my manager giving that comfort to me played a big role that gave me confidence in longer run. Second, determination is one of the key characters of a great leader. We all know what is determination and all the words that are associated with determination: resolve, drive, persistence, etc., etc. I'll share one story on determination. You know, in the last year, to give you a bit of a background, we have a product, insulin product for diabetic patients. We have licensed this product from a global pharma major, Eli Lilly. Last year, Eli Lilly decided to exit the human insulin market from the India market because of their own strategic priorities. This would have meant a loss of 300 crore brand for us, and also discontinuity of supplies to human insulin, which is a life-saving drug, to convince Eli Lilly to divest this brand and reacquire this brand and source it locally. And we make it available to millions of patients, and meanwhile we protect our top line and improve our bottom line. Lilly was convinced at an attractive multiple, but they had one condition, that you have to complete the deal in 1 month flat. Now, for a deal of this complexity and this structure, 1 month was an unprecedented timeline. So that was the time when management asked me, would you be able to pull it off or we give it up? I said, no, we will pull it up. It was the month of December. People had their own plans. They had vacation and their own plans. I had my vacation plan. I put up a team together. It was a cross-functional team of finance, legal, regulatory, etc. And the first thing that I did was make them realize what was the bigger picture. I said, this is a brand of priority. This is of our strategic importance. This is 350 crore brand, and this serves millions and millions of patients. If we do not do this, our millions of patients would be having no choice, and we will lose a top line of around 350 crore. Believe me, the cross-functional teams were not thinking in silos anymore. They thought, they saw the bigger picture, and everybody who had planned their leaves, they cancelled their leaves. Those 30 days were of intense pressure and intense hard work. We slept about 3 to 4 hours in the entire duration of 30 days. But at the end of 30 days, in the New Year Eve, we executed this deal and we protected the brand, and we ensured, secured the supplies of insulin to millions of patients. So it has a lot of tangible benefits. Our share prices went up, and the intangible benefits were the team morale was very high, and most importantly, our patients were served the life-saving drug. So this was, I think, the power of determination of the entire team that worked on the project, and knowing the larger picture that no one is working in silos, but what is the overall strategic goal that the company wants to achieve by doing this. And believe me, the kind of dedication, passion the entire team had shown was just at a different level. The third thing I would like to talk about is courage. And to me, courage is to have, that capability to keep going on even in the under uncertainty, and to be able to convert the vision, the ideas into reality. Because we as professionals, we have so many ideas, but very few of them have the courage to convert into reality, and to have that perseverance to do it. So I'll give you one example here. During the COVID time, Lupin was planning to diversify from the pharmaceuticals to the other healthcare sectors, services. So that point in time, management asked me, what can we do for the neurology patients? Because for the neurology patients, medicines take them up to a certain level only. But after that, there is nothing much that can be done. I don't know, many of you might have seen some in your relation or your friends, patients after stroke. Have you seen any patient after stroke or after accident where the spinal cord is injured or brain is injured? Have you seen? How many of you have seen? Yes, so it's very common. So after a stroke or a spinal cord injury or a brain injury, what happens is there is a lot of deficit that remains with the patient. Inability to speak, cognitive deficits, paralysis, etc. And these patients need multidisciplinary mode of action, mode of treatment modalities to get them to normalcy beyond medication. So I did a thorough research to see what was the gap that is available here and what is it was available globally, and try to fill in what was not here. So I traveled across the world to see what was available and did mapping of what was not here. The travel included visiting Shirley Rare in Chicago or LCH in Naples, Florida. So what was the best available across the globe? I did a thorough research what was available in India, And sadly, there was nothing that was available in India for such kind of patients. And basis that I did the need gap analysis, and I came up with the idea of launching Lupin's other ability, which was Lupin's Neuro Rehabilitation Center. Now, I had no background of this because my background was in the pharmaceutical products. This was a diversification into healthcare, but it was the courage and the risk-taking that I could get into it and I could convert this into reality. So much so, my son's name is Samir. When I was working on this, he was 14 years old. And I used to do a lot of work at home, because I was kind of double hatting. And there was so much of in the calls that one day he got jealous and he came to me and he said, Mama, who is this Athar? I hear Athar's name more than Samarth in this house. So that was a lot of passion behind, bringing Athar ability to India. It's the world-class Neuro Rehabilitation Center, which has a world-class facility, everything under one roof, with neurological rehabilitation services, speech therapies, cognitive therapies, multidisciplinary rehab therapies, aquatic therapy, world-class robotics, all under one roof. It is truly, truly world-class. We have one center in Bombay and one in Hyderabad, one in coming out in Delhi. So if you remember my first slide where I talked about that my professional journey started with the thought that I wanted to make a difference. And whether making a difference by securing a product like human insulin for millions of patients, or bringing in authority in India, this world-class facility, making meaningful difference to the patients' lives. So that was the leadership journey I have lived. I'd like to sound, please. Sound. Can you have the sound, please? So while she's playing this sound, I'd like to say that my leadership journey started with very humble beginnings, selling the products to the people who need it. But the thought was to make a difference. And since all my actions were directed towards these thoughts over a period of 3 decades, I have tried to make this happen in various fields. And when we see these patients who come on stretcher and go out of Athar biking, then you are really gratified to see that how much difference you are making to the patients' lives. So this is about my leadership story, and I'm sure that you will have your leadership stories when you go ahead. And I wish all of you to be the leader you want to be and have it defined right in the beginning. Any questions, please? No questions? And she's getting
So, thank you for a very elaborated journey of yours and truly inspiring. I have one question which I think most of them have, but they are not asking. We are, talking about character and integrity as an integral part of leaders. And believe me, they are a bunch of guys who know everything about what is happening around the world. So, since last month or so, they have been watching how many top leaders of the world are appearing in Epstein files as well, right? And for that matter, not once, not twice, but people who are global leaders visited there for over 3 years, 4 years. So it was a deliberate choice, right? And we have seen those leaders doing podcasts talking about character integrity for long, including Bill Gates, and I would name one because he was here in India right now. He chose not to be on stage in AI Summit. So, how did you reinstate this young mind's trust in these words? And for that matter, most of these words definitely come from Harvard, and a couple of Harvard professors are also there in the asking class. So, I want to understand you as a leader. How will you reinstate this word's trust in these young minds? Because tomorrow they may not think, okay, this is good to study in class, but outside, but we have to do whatever it takes to be on that particular top front. So, what is your take?
I think you saved the most difficult question. I can well understand that in the present scenario, given all the news that we have seen in the last few days, has kind of shaken up, our overall faith and trust in what we have been believing for over decades, over years. And my son is 18 years old now, and he also knows about this, and this question has come from him as well. It is a very, very difficult thing to answer at this point of time, but I would say that character is something very individualistic. Okay? We cannot control how the entire world behaves, but what is in our hands we can do. So character is my intrinsic value, and how I am sticking to my values and how I am consistent with my values and my action is what matters. And with your influence, with you being at the center, and everybody is an influence center with at least some people who get influenced by you. So how many people can you influence with your character? With everything that is happening around the world, but the fact is, the character is core of everything. The character is the core of the globe, core of human being in general, and core of everything that we do. I would request each one of you that you look inside yourself, you deep dive inside yourself and see that what is the character, what are the value systems you would like to live yourself. And if each one of us live the values and characters within, I think the world will be a better place. Anyone else?
My question is about sometimes leaders need to take hard decisions on certain situations. So
Thank you, sir. So I always say, leadership is not a popularity contest. Leadership is to make a difference and to move towards what the goal is. And if moving towards that goal demands a tough decision or a tough action, if that is in the right direction, if it advances you towards your goal and the organization goal or whatever your society's goal, it is worth taking it. I would say that as leaders, one should not get into popularity contest. One should do what is right and what takes you towards achieving your goal. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Now my question to you actually overlaps with what Mr. Sinha has spoken previously about startups. So for a company at the stature of Blueprint, do you believe that the move is to start initiatives, or is it with the growth of healthcare and health tech startups, you just try and acquire them because of the stature of Blueprint, or do you still believe that initiatives and starting it by yourself is the way forward?
So Lupin today is around $3 billion company. We are here in India and across the globe. It is primarily today a pharmaceutical company. Our medicines reach to over 100 countries across the globe. However, we are also now thinking that how can we diversify into the healthcare segment, because after all, it is the overall health outcome of the patient. Medicines can be one part of it, but how can we impact the overall health outcomes of the patients? And that's the reason we diversified into the neuro rehab. We also initiated our digital health therapeutics, which is a remote health monitoring system for cardiac patients. And we also got into lipid diagnostics. Okay, so we are taking new initiatives. At the same time, when we are growing organically, we are also looking at acquisitions of some brands or some businesses which we have done in the recent past. Some of the acquisitions, one of the acquisitions I just talked about in my presentation, which I led, and some of the other acquisitions also in India we have done and across the globe. So our strategy is both to grow organically and inorganically as well, whatever is the strategic fit to our business. Anyone? Yes, please.
Hi ma'am, I am also a pharmacist, but my mission is also to become an impactful leader in the pharma industry. So my question is, what pathways or roles should I target to make a very impactful career in this industry?
Okay. So you have to figure out what is your choice, what is your inclination towards. So there are various functions where you can work in the pharmaceutical industry. So one is sales and marketing. So the opportunities is huge. You end up becoming a business leader through sales and marketing route. One is business development, which I am currently leading. I have been in sales and marketing for many years. Currently, I am leading business development, where you bring in the new products opportunities. So one is building the current portfolio through sales and marketing, and how to grow businesses by bringing new products. So that is through business development. And another thing is that you can also work. You can do a course in the regulatories. And regulatory is a big, pharmaceutical regulatory is a big piece currently, with so many patented products getting into and so many clinical trials happening. So regulatory pathway is very important. So that is something which is currently not overcrowded. So you could look at getting into pharmaceutical regulatory. You will have to little bit learn more about it. One could get into in the strategic role, where you build the portfolios and you build the pathways of how to move forward in pharmaceutical space. So these are some of the openings, some of the functions that you could look at: sales and marketing, strategic portfolios, business development. That's all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Miss Sumita for enriching this session with her valuable expertise and wisdom. We now invite Mr. Kunal Kishore to share his reflections and key takeaways from Miss Sumita's address.
While competence builds a career, it is character that sustains a legacy. On these lines, Miss Sumita Pani concluded the summit with an engaging talk on character that builds the foundation, influencing our decisions, and that leads to credibility. Your insights have challenged us to look beyond our daily tasks and consider the deeper footprints our choices create. Thank you for sharing that with correct direction and strong character, leaders can navigate through difficult situations when expectations conflict. On behalf of the entire IIM Amritsar community, I extend my deepest gratitude to Ms. Sumita for her invaluable contributions. Thank you, ma'am. Today's conversations centered on navigating the complex link between decision-making and leadership identity, and maintaining credibility during moments of pressure when values and expectations conflict. Let me take this moment to once again express our sincere gratitude to all the guest speakers for sharing their profound knowledge and experiences. You have not only broadened our perspectives, but also set a benchmark for the quality of discourse at this summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. We now invite you all to enjoy a glimpse of today's event, thoughtfully captured and curated by the Media and Public Relations Committee and 50mm the Photography Club of IIM Amritsar. Thank you, LPRC and 50mm, for capturing the glimpse of today's event. Now, I would like to request Mr. Aman Chaudhary, Senior IIC Coordinator, to propose the vote of thanks.
on behalf of every individual involved in organizing this summit, we would like to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to all of you for making this summit a resounding success. Our sincere gratitude extends to all our esteemed industry leaders. Your willingness to share valuable knowledge and experiences has enriched us all. We are truly grateful for the profound insights and wisdom you have imparted. To our respected Director Sir, Student Affairs Chair, the Student Affairs Office, and all the honorable faculty members, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support and guidance. We are truly fortunate to have you as our mentors. To the IT team, thank you for ensuring the smooth running of the event. Your hard work is appreciated. We appreciate the efforts of the Placements Committee, IIM Amritsar, for maintaining the necessary decorum at the summit. We are immensely grateful to the Media and Public Relations Committee and 50mm, the Photography Club of IIM Amritsar, for their never-ending support. A big round of applause for the Industry Interaction Committee for making this event a huge success. And finally, to you, the students of IIM Amritsar. Thank you for your constant support.